today's video, I'm actually going to start, it is November the 12th, and I'm actually going to start with Math Workshop. The kids have had a while to kind of work on it. I'm trying to get papers passed back and all that, so as the day goes on, maybe some will get passed out. Okay, some of the tricks. Here we go. First off, the easiest trick to me is, if it's the same on top and bottom, it is 1. Okay, so most kids do at least that, meaning that they got a 3 out of 25. Okay, so that was the first trick. Top and the bottom is always 1 if they're the same number. Everybody good on that? Okay. Good on that one. Okay. The next thing was, when I see something with a 10 on the bottom, that means the place value of tenths. We know the point, and whatever's to the right of that is the tenths column. So if this is 3/10, it just means 0.3. Okay, if I find more tenths, so this is 0.7. And more tenths, 0.8. Now, I will give you a hint. No decimal, no credit. We got to have the decimal, guys. Some of you got a 0 because you didn't put a decimal on a single problem. On these, it's not 0.1, it's 1 or 1.0. Okay, so just kind of pointing that out. The next thing I start to do, honestly, is these 9s. Anything with a base of 9, the bottom number 9, because I know number 1, they repeat, and number 2, I can copy the top number. Meaning, 7/9 is the same as saying 0.7 or 7/10 repeating. I look for the next 9. This one would be 0.3 repeating. And that's what I do on those. I just, like anything with a 9, I'm like, oh yeah, it repeats. It's the same as the top. Okay, now I have a weird trick on these 5s. I personally think of 5 whats make $1. So if I, not quarters, but pennies. Now, it's not going to be exact change. How much? 2 dimes is how much? 20. Okay, so all I'm doing is skip counting by 20s. You don't have to, but this is what I think of. 20, 40, 60, 80, 100. 20, 40, 60, 80, 100. So, all I do is when I see something out of 5, like 4 out of 5, I go 20, 40, 60, 80. So I know it's 0.8 or 0.80. And if you put the 0 after it, that's fine. It doesn't matter. So it could be 0.80? 0.80, right. So like 3 out of 5, 20, 40, 60. So 0.6 or 0.60. Yes?
I just multiply the top by 2.
By 2. And that has been it. Like, I just have my weird ways I'm so old and stuck on that it was until last period someone said, if you multiply times 2. And someone else told me that, and I was like, oh. I just don't really think about it. And that works for the 5s. Just the 5s. Okay, so there's another trick. Okay, yes?
Even though it still only works for the 5s, could it work for like 3 9s?
You'd have to do times on the 9s. Well, 9s you'd have to do times 1 and repeating. But you could do that, times 1 and repeating. Uh-huh. Oh, because you're saying like 4 times 2 would be 8 over 10, and 8/10 is the same as 0.8. I like that. There you go. There's many different ways. Like, it's kind of weird. Earlier, I asked about 100, but I need to change it now to what is 4. So 4 whats equal 100?
5 20s.
5 20s, but how many 4 what?
25s.
4 25s. So I want you to think about this. If it's 4 25s and you only have one of them, 0.25. Anytime I see 4 at the bottom, I think of quarters. So if I see a 1, I know it's 25 cents. If I see a 2, it's 0.5 or 0.50. If I see a 3, it's 0.75. That's all I'm doing is finding tricks to remember these things. Okay? The 3s. I will say this about the ones with the base of 3, the bottom 3. I know they repeat, and I know they're a decimal, but I have a weird way of doing this. If it works for you, use it. If not, it's fine. What if we know we got to do 2 divided by 3, and 2's in the house? So if I added a decimal and a 0, it'd be like a 20. How many 3's are in 20? 6. So I know that it is 0.6 repeating because I've memorized that all the 3's repeat, and I know it's going to be a 6.
I'm multiply the top and bottom and just put a repeater bar.
That's what I did.
Okay, so 1 times 3 would be 3. Repeater bar, decimal. I like it. There's only because 3/3 would be 1. So those are the only 2 anyway, aren't they? Yeah. I just always have to remember which ones repeat. I'm like, oh yeah, it's my 9s and my 3s. So, but I hadn't thought, you're right. I hadn't thought about that. Yes? By 3? Yes. Yeah. You catch the tricks if you stare at it and study. If you will actually look at it, you will see the tricks. You can't wait till Thursday night, guys. Yes.
For some reason, I got 0.22. That's why it was repeating on 2.
For what number?
Number 2. I got 0.22.
No, because 20, I think you did it backwards. It'd be 20 divided by 3. I mean, it'd be 2 divided by 3, which would be add a decimal and a 0. So it would be 6, would be 18, and it would keep repeating.
I think I should learn to.
Yeah. Now, if you would, put this behind Math Workshop. Do not lose it. Do not lose it. Okay. Now, today, what I'm going to do is give you a little bit of time, but this vocab. This is the main vocab for the whole unit, but definitely today and this week. It's kind of weird because what we start today, yes, is algebra. But no, I can't throw in a variable the first day, meaning 11. We are going to start, but we kind of just start with the order of operations. The please, excuse, my dear Aunt Sally. So that's not too bad. We need to start with that in just a minute. My dear Aunt Sally. Okay, so start with this vocab. What I'm going to do is go see if I've got any papers. Okay, trying to see who's visiting. Thank you, there you go. Okay, start with the vocab. Okay, so tomorrow I will put the vocab back up. But like I was saying, really the only 2 words we can use today are expression and evaluate, because we are going to start with just order of operations. In 5th grade, order of operations is a true topic of the 5th grade. We are supposed to, what I call, kind of just jump in and do it and pretend like y'all remember everything you've ever been taught. Instead, what we do is we do touch it a little bit before we jump on it too hard. So, first, let's remember order of operations. An order of operations is what we use so that we all get the same answer on a math problem. Without order of operations, we could get 3 different answers on the same math problem. We could probably get 100 different answers on some of the big ones, okay? So what we use, I use the old saying of please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Now, I will start by saying, I write mine kind of weird because of down here, and I'll get there in a second. So, starting out, the P for please stands for parentheses. But I need you to also know, it really means any grouping symbols. Any grouping symbols. It could be brackets. And as you get older, yeah, all of it. Or braces. You can even have braces inside brackets and parentheses inside parentheses. So, as you go on, they keep adding more stuff. More grouping symbols. Okay, the next thing is exponents. Stuff like 2 to the 3rd power. Remember that 2 to the 3rd power, 2 is your base. You are writing that the amount of times that the exponent says. So, 2 times 2 times 2. 2 times 2 is 4 times 2 is 8. So, your answer is 8. It's not 2 times 3. It is 2 times 2 times 2. Slow down when it comes to exponents. This little number is your exponent. The 2 is the base number. Okay, now, this is the part I write kind of funny. I write the M and the D for my dear next to each other. Because it literally means multiply or divide from left to right. And what I mean, guys, every year I have someone question me on this, and what it is they're doing all their multiply and then all their divide. It is not that way. You start at the left side of the problem, and as you go across, you ask yourself, multiply or divide, multiply or divide, multiply or divide, multiply or divide, until you see, like if you see division first, you do division first. Okay, but I'm teaching her. Let her stay with me here. Okay, if you see multiply first, you do multiply. Sit up. Sit still. Be quiet. Thank you. Now, the last step is once you've cleaned up all the multiply divide, we do add or subtract. So, add or subtract, that's the key, or, and it's all once again from left to right. From left to right. You should have been writing all these notes down, guys. Now, some of you had some other ways of memorizing the please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. That is fine if you have a different method of remembering it. I also don't mind if you write it on the edge of your paper. You know, like when you take a test or something. That's not a big deal. Okay, starting out. The thing that worries me is I want to set you guys up for a good basis in algebra and math as you go on. Because you're going to be taking pre-algebra, algebra 1, algebra 2. with whatever they call it in the future. This is where it begins. And I know right now you're going to think you have the mean math teacher. But I promise, all math teachers are mean in the idea that you have to write the steps. And what I mean by that is you got to imagine when you're in high school, you might have a math problem that is as big as this piece of paper, as wide, going across. And that math problem will start up here at the top of the paper. And it will go down, and slowly down, and down. Well, to be honest, when you get down to the bottom, what if you have the wrong answer because you did 2 times 3 is 5?
Oh, you got go back to where you messed up.
That would be so tough.
But you added, right? Do you, as your high school math teacher,
You just subtract it and then put it on paper.
they put 2 times 3 is 5.
How can it make sense?
So they probably added 2 plus 3 is 5, not 2 times 3. So, basically here's the deal though. In a high school math class, you might have 2 math problems, or even 1, that is your whole test grade. Well, if you get done with that one problem that just took you a whole hour, and you have the answer wrong because of 2 times 3, you learned back in 3rd and 4th grade, okay, it's not really fair. So what we do as math teachers, starting now, is we grade you per line. Per line. So if you don't show your work, then you miss points per line. The way I call it is you can only have 1 new number per line. You can only do 1 operation per line. So you've got to kind of get over what I call like wasting paper. That's just math world, okay? And you have to do it the way I'm saying. And some of you are already writing, so I don't know how you know what to do. But here we go. I realize you did this last year. But if you don't write these steps, it's wrong, guys. Okay, so starting out, we need parentheses. Are there any parentheses? Yes. Which is 8. Now, so this is what I do. This is my 1 new number per row. And when I even make an answer key, this is how I do it. Because that way I can see, you know what? That was the first step and the only first step that we could do. Then I look again. Are there any other parentheses? No. Exponents? No. Okay. Multiply or divide? So, my brain is doing this. Multiply, divide, multiply, divide, multiply, divide, multiply, divide, multiply, divide, multiply, divide. Bam. I got to do that first. So 64 divided by 8 is 8. That is the only, but you can't jump to the times 2. We got to only do 1 step per row. Now I can do, yes, 8 times 2 is 16. But 1 new number per row. Show me all the steps. Okay, now looking at number 2. Okay, first off, are there parentheses? Yes. Now, on this one, now PEMDAS starts over. Are there any parentheses in my parentheses? Parentheses in my parentheses? No. Exponents? Yes. Now, for one time, I'm just going to write it up here because it is not 12. 4 to the 3rd power. No, it is not. 4 times 4 times 4. 4 times 4 is 16. Times 4 is 64. Slow down. Turn around. So, just this is 64. So I write the 64. And I'm basically going to copy the rest of the problem. Okay, so now there's still parentheses left. So 64 divided by 2? 32. Now, since I'm done with everything inside the parentheses, I can now drop them, copy the rest of the problem. Okay, so now I'm done with parentheses and exponents. I got to look. Is there any multiply or divide? Multiply. 32 times 5, which is 160. Okay, now add or subtract from left to right. We've got to do this add. So 173 minus 17, 156. I know I'm kind of putting it down here, but since it's an expression, I'm trying to be good and not put an equal sign. Okay, yes.
I messed up and put 32 for the exponent.
32. You got it. Oh, wait a minute. 4 times 4 is 16. Now, 64 divided by 2 is 32.
I went 4 8.
Can't do it that. Yeah. Yeah. 4 times 4 times 4. Yeah.
Later in the year when we have tests on this.
Oh, yeah. Like next Friday.
And,
Oh, what?
I was going to say, will we have space to write the answer, or will we just have to put it in a box like that?
You should have space. I mean, it'll go down as a V every time. It should go down as like a little upside down triangle or whatever. The one question I thought you were going to ask me was, will we ever do this with decimals and fractions? And the answer is yes. As the year goes on and as your math career goes on, you add decimals, you add fractions. We throw in the letters. That's what we're going to do tomorrow, is throw in some ABC type stuff. And slowly, it's kind of like you might have this math problem and a teacher asks you to graph it on a coordinate plane. When you graph it and all of its cute little points, maybe it makes a shape. There's the geometry. Sometimes the teacher might give you a coordinate plane with a shape on it, and you got to figure out what math problem is it representing. So slowly it comes together. It takes a long time. Okay, now here is the plan. I'm going to skip this part because I've skipped it in all my other classes. Do that tomorrow. Let's go to the back. Okay, now, in class, I'm going to do this left side. Kind of leaving you with the right side for homework. Okay. Show your work, please. Here we go. If I can ever get my paper straight. Okay, so starting out, I've got PEMDAS. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Okay. I know it's kind of silly, but if it helps you. Okay, are there any parentheses? No. Exponents? No. Multiply or divide? No. So we only got add or subtract from left to right. I have to do this one first because it's the first one I hit from left to right. I get a 1
Plus 5.
plus 5, and I get 6. Turn around. Turn around. Number 3, I guess it is, because we're going down the paper. Do I do subtract or add first? Subtract on this one. Okay, 56 plus 21, 77. Can't do them out of order. London.
76 plus 21.
That's what I was was thinking, but you still wouldn't get 76. 64 minus 10 would be 54. Plus 2 would be 56.
I was counting backwards.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I could be wrong. Don't get me wrong. Okay. Let's see. This third one. Oh, parentheses first. That's for sure. 89 minus 67. 22. 50. I was waiting for y'all to say another number. Just 50. Okay. Division or addition first? Division. 63 divided by 9. 7. Number 9. What should we do first? Multiply first, because you do what you hit first from left to right. So 13 times 4. Copy the rest. Okay, now what?
72 divided by 8
Is 9.
minus 52 is 3.
40. Going too fast sometimes. Okay. Number 11. 21 minus 6 is first, being 15. Do we do division or multiplication? Division. So we get the 2. And then times 4.
8.
If I wasn't trying to switch pens so much, it wouldn't. Got it? Okay. Start with the multiply.
16.
Wait a minute, where 82? Where are you getting 8?
Oh, I added the
No.
Yeah, I added that.
Can't do that. We gotta subtract. You might get lucky and get the right answer. I realize that. But you don't, like, we do add or subtract from left to right. So you want to do that subtract, then the add, then the subtract. Because, yeah, only because you're working left to right. And I realize, guys, there are some of these problems you will get the same answer if you work it one way or the other. But as you get older and these problems get larger, you won't get the right answer. So, okay, now 4 to the third power means 4 times 4 times 4, which is 64. So, I got a 64.
Minus 24. Minus
24 minus 20.
So listen, do I do subtract or divide next?
Divide.
Divide.
3. So 24 minus
The
8.
answer is 61. It's 3.
You got it. It's not hard. It's just my friends who go too fast will make little errors. Okay. Now, for homework, please finish right now work. This side. I'm going to make it like that. So, you're finishing the right side. If you're in first period, you probably have the bottom 4 to finish or something. Most classes have finished all of it. Remember tonight, start studying the fraction to decimal equivalencies. 25-point quiz on Friday.